panoorin ka sa atin para sa laban na to.
Oh yes, definitely this is gonna be the battle of tanks. Tama actually yung head-to-head matchup natin kanina. The most important factor for these two teams is to have the good tank setup. Next play, esports, they have Yawi that can play the Sylvana, he can play the Joy, he can play the Matilda, he can actually play the Paquito. Omega Esports, you need to remove that fundamentals from the team.
Kailangan no, yung mga pang setup dito para sa side ng Omega on the side of Heat. Last time nakita natin dito yung mage lineup ng side ng Omega dito. Ano bang nasasabi nito sa lineup mo, Omega? Nag-experiment ba yung Omega dito, Midnight, or talagang na-practice nila to, hindi lang nila na-execute ng tama?
I feel like it's mostly on the back end of things na parang pinapractice nila pero they forgot that there's some technical problems on the lineup. Nasabi nga nila yung kanina, isang Athena Shield lang at isang Oracle, tapos kagad yung composition nyo.
Pwede. So ngayon, magtuloy-tuloy ba yung curse right now for this team? Nabanggit mo dito yung mga tanks. Midnight, that is Matilda being banned out. Yung Selena ay nirespeto na rin dito ng side ng next play. Pero tama ka, Midnight. Look at this. Johead ban and Cho ban para sa side ng Omega. Clearly, ang tinatarget dito, isa sa mga heroes ni Yawi and si Renny J na din.
Yes, definitely. Both of the teams have the same idea. They just remove the tanks, the comfort tanks that they can pick, and baka magkaipitan tayo dito between Matilda and the Sylvana and the Paquito. So those are the two key heroes for both sides. Now, Omega Esports, they do have this slight advantage kasi yung dynamics ng tank and support nila. Again, pwede magpalit si Hayes and si Heat. And yung mga mages kasi minsan nagiging tank na rin, like for example si Matilda. Fortunately enough, wala Matilda for this game. So I think for Omega Esports, medyo maiipit sila pagdating sa first pick na next play.
Yeah, I think na maganda na nabanggit mo yung mga mages dito. Omega also, they're the ones na unang pumili ng Valier dito sa season na to. Again, hindi naging successful for their squad. Pero yes, nag-agree ako sa'yo. Meron tayong mga siguro niche pick na pwede makita ngayon sa side ng Omega. What is the opening right now for next play? You have the Benedetta online. Probably, pwede silang mag-focus ngayon sa hero probably ni Yawi since nabanggit mo nga yung mga tanks dito. Pero, segue muna ako, Midnight nirespeto na ng Omega yung Eve ni Exort.
Yes, definitely. Now, next play, instead of flexing out the backsha on James na pwede na maging tank on Yawi, they picked up what they used last week, the Benedetta tank, and that will be on the hands of Yawi. Ito yung flex nila. Alam nila na tank battle to, nagkatanggalan na, wala nang Matilda, walang Sylvana, walang Joy, and walang Cho. Let's flex the Benedetta out.
Pwede, no? One of the main reason kung ba't pinipili itong Benedetta na to dahil pwede mong i-tank, pwede mong i-jungle, pwede mong ring i-gold lane or in-XP lane. Ganoon siya kalakas. Tinapatan to ng Omega ng sustain type. Esmeralda probably still the strongest side lane pa rin. XP laner, I mean. Followed up with Paquito. Ano na naman ang ibig sabihin nito ngayon, Midnight, para sa side ng Omega? Kasi ang taas ng sustain nitong dalawang side lane na to, tinapatan kagad, kakasabi mo lang, back siya para dito kay James.
Actually, napaka-standard nung sagot ng Omega Esports. And it's almost predictable at the point na pinik nila yung Paquito. Paquito is really good against Benedetta. It's one of the few side laners that can actually outmatch the Benedetta. And ang nagpaganda dito sa pick ng Omega Esports is that you can flex it out as well. Pwede maging tank, pwede maging side lane. Of course, naturally, kukunin ng Omega Esports yung Esmeralda every single time that they can. But telegraph na yan ng next play and they picked up the backsha. And medyo maganda sagot ng Omega Esports dito. No? They picked up the 1-1, setting up the possibility that this could be a... actually, hindi na side laner yung Paquito. No? Tank na yung Paquito, but this sets up the possibility na pwede magkaroon ng double marksman ang Omega Esports.
Which is actually capable sila. Remember, Toshi is also a player na nag-start out na pumasok ng pro scene bilang isang marksman. And ngayon, kung mapupunta sa kami niya to, hindi pa natin alam kasi Toshi and Cortese, may part na nagsiswitch sila May part na si Cortese ang minsan nagma-marksman dito. And yes, I like it na pinoint out mo. Magandang adjustment to para sa Omega. Para at least meron silang damage late game. And the 1-1 can actually deal with the Claude. Late game din. Na mapipersa yung Claude gumawa dito ng wind chant mechanic. Wind of Nature, na item.
Ngayon, ang question na lang dito is whether Omega Esports ban out the Harley or pick it themselves. I think for Omega, you could let go of the Harley kasi hindi naman masyado nag-Harley sa H2O. You'd probably want H2O to play the Claude. Pero the thing is, pwede rin i-flex na next play to. Pwedeng si Renegade yung mag-Claude dito kasi you still have the possibility of Benedetta playing the tank role and si James din yung pwede mag-back siya. So a lot of options still for next play. And for Omega Esports, ang concern mo lang dito is securing the jungle role for Hajizi.
Men, gusto ko na pinoint out mo dito yung Claude ni Renny J na pwedeng mag-side lane. Dahil knowing next play, ayaw din nila ng mga Digistrat.
Yes.
Ayaw din nila ng, hindi yung Digistrat na suicidal, yung Digi na nanggugulo sa side lane. So mukhang itong next play, mas pinofocus nila dito yung magiging gold laner nila para sa laban na to. And Midnight, napauka dito, it's back.
Yes.
Hajizi Ling is back. And man, na-miss natin to lahat.
Oh, alam mo iniisip ko nga, potentially pwede sila mag-link. We saw this with NXP's game and Execution's game. You can play the link against Claude and Basha kasi inherently walang ginagawa ng dalawang to against the hero. But I would have thought na last pick sana yung Ling na Omega Esports kasi next play, you don't want to be picking Ling and Claude in the same lineup. Sobrang takaw niyan. So parang mas safe lang na pwede mong i-last pick sana yung Ling for Omega Esports just to make sure na walang potential counter in next play. But what does this tell me is that Omega Esports, they actually want to bait the last two picks of next play to be against the Ling para makapag-set up sila ng isa pang possible last pick.
Ang ganda ng statement na yun. Kumbaga sinabi ng Omega, teka lang, baka nakakalimutan nyo, may Ling kami, ngayon mag-react kayo dito.
Yes.
Where is the catch right now sa Omega? You have an Alice and you have an Angela. So mukhang focus on side lanes talaga to. Sustain game for the side of next play. Remember, naging maganda din, naging outstanding din yung Alice dito sa lineup nila. And this time, Exort is playing an Angela naman pro-protecta Midnight. Gaano ka-importante itong Angela pick ngayon?
Actually, ito yung magdidictate ng tempo ng next play. If they get on a good start, they can actually snowball against Omega Esports. One problem is that they don't do anything against the Ling. Yes, pwede ka mag-snowball with the Angela, pwede mong magbigyan ng magandang oras si Claude dito, but there is an Esmeralda on the side of Omega Esports. So medyo questionable sa akin yung Angela pick na next play dito, no? Kasi inherently countered ka kagad. Naturally countered ka ng lineup ng Omega Esports and you didn't answer the Ling. Now, Omega Esports, they have essentially a +1 pick here and they picked up a Kagura. This is the top tier support at the moment.
It's mid.
Yes, it's good against Angela, it's good against Claude, and it's good against the Benedetta.
I think umabot lang tayo sa point siguro na next play, they know na wala silang Ling, pero asa sila dito sa talagang heavy damage output na pwedeng ma-provide and late game capability. This is a Claude, this is an Alice na pag nag-umabot ng late game, hindi kailangan pumindot eh. Pipindot lang, ang pipindutin lang, ultimate, tapos maglalakad lang. So, ang ibig sabihin natin dito, yung damage output ng next play, sobrang outstanding. So ngayon, I think doon na lang sila nagbe-base kaysa sa pag-catch ng Ling na to. I think it's still 50-50 pagdating sa draft natin. Nabanggit mo nga, execution, sa execution tayo aabot.
Definitely.
Snowball type para dito sa side ng next play. Omega naman, kayang makipag 2-on-2, kayang makipag 1-on-1 on lineup nila.
Yeah, marami kasing approach ang pwedeng gawin in the next play. You can either go for a superior team fight, which is what they did with the Alice, Angela, and Claude, or you can disrupt the Ling. Pero naipit sila doon sa 2 picks kasi nga nakita na nila yung Ling and alam nila may last pick pa ang Omega Esports that can answer the 2 picks that they have. So I think the safer route was to go for a team fight. And commendable din naman yung approach nila dito, the Angela and the Alice. Again, your primary concern is that you don't do anything against the Ling and you are inherently countered by the Esmeralda.
So ang tanong dito, can Omega activate once again the KDA machine? Na-miss nating lahat itong Ling ni Mr. Hajizi. But can next play go all the way to the late game? And remember, this is one best pick para kay H2O. By the way, Midnight, before we start, nais ko lang sabihin that MPL Philippines Season 7 is under the supervision and the regulation of the Games and Amusement Board. So going back, look at this. Heat Vintage Movements para sa kanyang panggagamol dito sa Purple Box.
Yes, actually, ang ganda, no? This is the understanding of Omega Esports. They know that the Angela has leveled up the first skill instead of the second skill. So wala masyadong panghabol kay Pakito. But Renegade joining the fight here makes a little space for the Claude to farm.
Yeah, actually, still, maganda pa rin yung kuha doon ni H2O ng kanyang purple. And talagang I think dito papasok yung veteran movements ng Omega. They know na kapag ang Claude ang nag-jungle, importante sa kanya lahat ng buffs.
Yes,
kailangan mo siyang i-delay ng i-delay. And yun din yung target dito ng NXP. Nagkamali ako, actually, Midnight. Akala ko Claude Marksman to. Akala ko
Oo.
Claude side lane to.
Jungle siya.
But we have a Benedetta side lane na mapupunta sa kay Rene J. Midnight, I think favorite mo to. Kumusta yung mga matchups natin? Kumusta yung mga matchups?
I think for next play, you're very happy with the matchups. Medyo surprised din ako no actually si Rene J naglalaro ng Benedetta and Yawi is actually playing the Baksha instead of the other way around. Pwede kasi si James yung Baksha, Rene J playing the Alice, then Yawi on the Benedetta. But the thing is, they are looking for specific matchups here. They want the Benedetta on the core role against the 1-1.
Definitely. Sabi dito ng OMG, kailangan natin kumalaw. And there you go, first blood for the KDA machine. At dito na ba natin nakikita na back to form na ang Omega dahil nakakamiss yung mga ganong movements nila, yung mga biglaan na lang may first blood.
I think it's too early to say, pero Omega Esports, they still have their mechanics down to their bones. Kasi nakita natin na zinone out lang ng Omega Esports and actually dealing a poke damage into the heroes of NXP. And the job of the Ling is to clean up. Yan lang ang trabaho ni Ling ng early game. You don't fully commit without your ultimate. So ang gagawin ng kampi mo is poke, poke, poke. You have the Kagura, you have the Pakito. These two heroes can poke all day.
Midnight, speaking of poke, how important is this? Yes, Rene J getting the revenge kill on the top lane. That's nice. Kasi gold laner yon yung nawala. So pwedeng may mawalang wagon dito para kay Kurt. Pero gusto kong tanungin sa'yo, gaano ngayon ka-importante si Heat sa laban na to? I think siya yung nagsaserve talaga dito bilang scout. Sa OMG, this is vintage OMG.
Yes, this is the playstyle of Heat. He really doesn't clear waves. Ang ginagawa ni Heat sa isang game is nagpo-provide ng vision talaga.
Vision talaga para makagalaw. Sinaha JZ dito at mukhang itutuloy-tuloy nila as they are now targeting the orange bomb. Pasok na yun dito si Toshi. Ultimate para kay James dito pero wala pa siyang first kill. Habang si H.O. ay nasa diba na. May exort na JZ now. Flying out. Dahil masyadong nag-overextend this time ang OMG. Great movements pero hindi sila nakanako ng orange. That is a 2-for-1 trade. Attack for two heroes na wala si Hayes, na wala din si Heat.
Yeah, it's still a favorable position for Omega Esports. There are two stories here in the game. Number one is the resource control of NXP. Pinaka-importanting aspect sa kanila dito sa game na to is yung resource nila. They want the farm on the cloud. On the Omega side, you as much as possible, you'd want to take objectives. You have a Ling, you have an Esmeralda, and you have a Kagura. These three heroes wants to control objectives. But the thing is, Omega Esports, they have a +1. Kapag nagre-resource control ang NXP, the 1-1 is also free farming. So the late game factor for Omega Esports is actually bigger compared to NXP.
So meron pala silang ganun na, o sige mag-farm ka dyan, pero yung 1-1 namin, free farm naman. So may part na 50-50 trade ang ginagawa dito ng Omega. Yes, hindi nila nakuha yung orange, pero tignan mo naman, ang daming turret gold na nakuha dito ni Cartesi. Meanwhile, pasok dito si Hajizi. Welcome back. Pero masustansya dito, and I think this is going to be the punish. Wow! Nice maneuvers para dito kay Hajizi. Onting acrobatics, onting gulat, pero may onting pasok agad ang NXP. Alam nila, ilang beses na nila napanood yun.
Dito mo masasabi na Omega Esports, sila pa rin ang isa sa pinaka-mechanically gifted na team. They know that the only job of these heroes is to poke. Nakita natin kanina sa H2O, talagang binalagpag lang ni Hayes at ni Heat. Once na nakita nila nakalahati nilang buhay, even if the Angela jumps on the cloud, ang trabaho ni H2O is to clean up. And the story of the game is kapag may nangyayaring teamfight, I call this 60-40, kahit mapatay nila si Ling, NXP is just getting 40% because 1-1 is still farming.
Yes, ito pa rin ang pinaka-main dilemma ng NXP, si Kurt TZ. Fun fact lang pare, fan si Kurt TZ ng 1D. Parehas kami. Yeah, shoutout pala kay Kurt. At yun nga, nagpa-farm lang siya dito. Kailangan ng gumalaw ng NXP.
Yes.
Kaibigang Midnight. Yeah, nawala dito si Ajizi. Pero again, tama ka no? It's all about the side lanes right now.
Yep.
Probably yung jungle, 40% na problema mo yun eh.
Again, every move that NXP makes, it has to make sense. It has to be focused on resource control or controlling the map. But Omega Esports, they are the ones dictating the early game pressure, the early game momentum dahil nasa kanila ang objective taking. Remember, you have a late game lineup on the side of NXP. So Omega Esports, they control or they rule the early game. If the team fight leads to both jungle kills, it does favor Omega because they still have a 1-1 on the side lane.
Sobrang tama ka, no, Midnight? Kasi I think pressure ng OMG dito to finish the game early. Meanwhile, depensa muna para sa NXP. And this is risky. Look at that. Exort pumasok na dito. 30 Dizzy with the second skill out. Habang si Exort na mahiwa dito. Exort with the flicker.
H2.
Pasok si H2 dito with the blazing duet. This time, Yawi is here. H2 nandito na din. May onting bawi. Habang si Hajizi ay atakin ngayon si Exort. Hajizi will just go for the flinch floors out. Meanwhile, Toshi naman ang magpa-farm dito sa gitna as James is also farming the bottom side. It's all about the aggressive movements ngayon ng OMG. Depends ang Marino sa NXP. Sinong nananalo sa trade ngayon, Midnight?
I think for the last trade, it was NXP. Even though napatay si Rene J, they still got what they came for. And maganda yung maganda actually yung response nila. You don't let Omega take anything for free. If napatay si Rene J and napunta yung kill kay 1-1, as much as possible for NXP, you need to find a trade.
Yeah.
And they got it. Nakakuha sila na isang kill. And Hajizi, he went on the backlines. I don't actually agree with the play. Instead of going for H2, he went for Exort, which was not the best trades. So kaya ako nasabi na NXP yung panalo doon kasi nakakuha ng kill si H2O and Omega Esports, they didn't take any objectives out of that skirmish.
Yeah, but I think ang pinaka pwedeng objective lang na nakuha dito ng Omega ay mid lane.
Yes.
Pero nabawi rin kasi ng NXP sa bottom lane.
Yep.
So,
May trade.
may part na nag 60-40 and yes, H2O nakita natin ngayon yung damage na ginawa dito ng kanya blazing duet na actually pare Demon Hunter Sword na siya.
Yes.
And we know na talagang delikado yon kapag ikaw ang isang Claude. And this time, they're going for the turtle. Makuha dito ni H2O as OMG will just back off.
Yes, and this is where you start seeing the shift on the momentum here. NXP now has the items and the levels that they need. Remember, sinabi natin kanina, they are the superior team fighters. This is because of the presence of the Angela and the Alice. Omega Esports are now playing the split push game. You have a Ling, you have an Alice, you have an Esmeralda, and you have a 1-1.
Yeah.
Sila naman yung nagre-resource control ngayon, and NXP are the ones dictating the objectives. This is where you start shifting the power spikes. Si Claude, may team fight yan. Si Alice, may team fight yan. Benedetta, may team fight yan. As much as possible, don't let Omega Esports split push and take the fight into Omega.
So, ibig sabihin dito, Midnight, ang pressure ngayon sa NXP is that wag nilang hayaan na Omega ang magdidikta. Wag nilang hayaan na Omega magsiset ng tempo. Dapat sila na.
Sila na ngayon.
Kasi may damage na sila eh.
Yes.
Umabot na sila sa power spike na may damage siya yung blazing duet.
Yep.
Halos lahat. Pero ngayon, Midnight, alam na tayo ng Omega. Gagawa sila ng play dito sa baba. There you go. Haze, napakatagal para mapatumpa dito si James.
Haji?
James surviving.
Oh, wow.
Wow, instant ultimate lang. Kamuntikan pa. Field attempt for OMG. Pero kaya nilang patumbahin tong bottom lane.
Top lane though, top lane. Manjin, ito yung sinasabi natin. There's always a trade now. The Basha is stealing the orange buff of Omega Esports. Medyo actually questionable yung nangyari sa baba, no? Hajizi could have taken out James, but he opted to go for the safer route and went for the tower objectives, which was fine. But then again, NXP, sila naman yung nagdidictate ng pressure ngayon. So Omega didn't really go for the punish on the bottom lane.
Ang hirap din kasi Midnight, I think mayroon din kasing specific na buff pa rin yung Torre. Kasi nakita natin na nag-back agad si Ace. Doon mo makikita dito yung yung mastery ng jungling dito ng OMG. Kung yun yung dating Torre, kung yun yung dating turret,
Dinive na nila
dinive na nila ng todo yun. Pero kasi still, mamamatay na si Ace doon eh. Isang hit na lang siya eh. So yeah, sobrang fortunate noon para kay James dahil nga meron din siyang ultimate. Dahil doon, nagkaroon ng space ang NXP. Midnight, pero with the snap, may bawi kagad ng Omega. Tignan mo, dikta kagad sila. Binawi kagad nila yung nawalang top lane nila.
Yes. Methodical approach still for Omega Esports. Every single objective na nakikita nila, basta libre, they will go for it. Curtizi with the Wind of Nature negating the damage output of the blazing duet ni H2O. Medyo ginalawan siya doon. Pogi, sekreto ng Pogi.
May onting master movements dito ang si Curtizi, pero mukhang delikado yon. Midnight dahil alam na ni H2 na cooldown na dito yung Wind of Nature.
Yes.
So ngayon NXP, they can probably take this, but look at this. Curtizi with the place. Oh no, kailangan mo na ata tumakbo dahil papasok si Yawi dito. But Kurt, kumikreep walk, left, right. Here we go, left, right. Nako si Yawi nila mag-isa at ayun na yung Harlem movements. Kurt, Jeezy, kakabangkit mo lang Midnight.
H2?
H2 pumasok ngayon, mag-isa si Jeezy. Sabi niya, binate lang kita. Meanwhile, Jeezy. H2, blazing duet. Jeezy, flinch voice. Jeezy will survive. Habang si Jeezy, yung main problem ay nandito na ngayon. Attacking the orange buff right now. Nalito ngayon yung Omega. Good movement for Curtizi, pero wala silang mapupush this time as Rene J will try to go for the split push. Men, gaano ka-importante yung pitas na yon?
Grabe, ito masasabi ko, labanan ng H-God. Could have definitely taken out the Claude on that tower, pero sabi mo nga kanina, Manjin, medyo nakakatakot kasi yung mga turrets ngayon. So sabi ni Haji, okay, play safe na lang ako and I will not go for the Claude kill. H2 would try to go for the punish but he didn't have the stack with the movement speed from the art of thievery. So hindi niya nahabol si Ling and hindi rin siya naabot ni James. Now, Omega Esports has reset the game. They now have full control of the turtle, but remember, they can still take it on the side of NXP. They have a Baksha that destroys the bush control of Omega Esports, gives vision to them, and remember, team fight superior ang NXP.
Team fight talaga at midnight umaabot na tayo sa ultra late game. We're now at 11 minutes of this game. This is the same story nung kalaban nila Bren Esports.
Yes.
Ganito ka tumatagal ang NXP. Yes, lumalamang ang kalaban nila early game, pero nakakasabay kasi sila late game. So to the point na napi-50-50 nila, one wrong movement from Omega, NXP can definitely punish them.
Ito ang story nitong team fight ito. Who gets the control on the 1-1? Omega Esports, they still have this pressure na pag nag-proc yung ultimate ni 1-1 dito, yung crossbow of tanks, heroes will melt on the side of NXP. So they need to keep in mind of the positioning of the 1-1, but it's really hard to do that against a Kagura and the Pakito na lagi nagbibigay ng vision against NXP.
Ang ganda kasi ng zone no? So pressured ngayon ng NXP. Hanapin dito si Kurt TZ. They need to be mindful of the wind chant.
Yes.
They need to be mindful of the Kagura's ultimate. Kasi Hayes is also doing a great job with the backs out na ginagawa nila. Tama ka midnight. Late game capability, yes, nandito yung part ng NXP. Pero dito na ba papasok yung veteran movements? Dito na ba papasok yung macro control? Kasi I think ang tinitignan natin ngayon, since 50-50 na yung mga items, kung sino na ang makakapag-freeze lane, sino na mauna sa mga bush, pagdating dito sa Lord Take na to.
Alam mo, sobrang bilis mag-farm ni Hadizi. Kanina lang pantay sila ng gold ni Claude. Ngayon, there's 1,000 gold lead on this Ling. Di ko alam kung saan niya nakuha yan. Actually, wala naman siya nakuha ang kills for the past few minutes. But I think it's because of him being able to stop Energy from split pushing and the map control of Omega Esports na hindi nila hinahayaang makapag-lane si H2O. For the past 2 minutes, si H2O, kapag nagpapakita sa isang lane, biniblazing do it niya, but majority of his time is spent on the jungle.
Jungle talaga, no? Dito papasok yung capability ng Ling to roam around Nagiging ano siya nagiging, para siyang nagiging part na hero na split pusher na lang siya Ngayon, ang dilema ngayon dito, ng NXP.
This is a kill.
Let's see blow by blow.
Ayaw.
Renny J playing mind games with the GZ. Alam ngayon, ang dalawang kupunan na 4 lang sila sa may Lord Take. Sino ang mauuna dito? NXP ang may retribution. Kurt GZ, kung may kripok palapit. Let's see, pero sabi guys, teka lang. Alam nilang 4 yung nasa side ng NXP.
Ganda ng bait.
Both of the teams playing mind games with each other midnight. Tignan natin. James, pasok ngayon. Hayes, nako, tricky situation. Pasok dito si Renny J. Renny J, the bomb. Execute. Oh no, nawala dito si Hayes. Pero mukhang si Yawi ata mawawala dito. Naku, nabitin. Damage. Napagamit dito ng wind shot easy. Pero the wind shot is real. Mr. Edgelord. Kurt TZ. Grabe malasaske, pare.
Grabe.
Kapuntikan mawala pero isang pindot lang ng wind shot. Pero sabi ni Renny J, ako sa bomb. Hahabulin kita. Pero may konting creep walk.
Oh my
Habang
God.
TZ nandito na din. KDA machine. There you go. May tusok din ako. 4 na heroes ang nawala sa NXP. And look at that replay. Anong nangyari doon midnight?
Eto, masasabi ko lang, technical plays by Omega Esports. It started with the bait on the bottom lane. They went for the Renegade after the Lord reset. And after that, alam na nila, okay guys, lahat ng tao ng NXP pupunta sa Lord. Maniwala kayo sa akin. And that is what happened. H2O thought that it was a free team fight, went for the blazing do it, pero hindi nila na-ready yung cooldown ng Winchan.
Wow, that instant replay is brought to you by Oppo A94. Experience gaming at full speed with Oppo A94. Get yours now for only $39.99. Instant Winchant lock. That was patience.
Yes.
Mula dito kay Curtizy, akala natin yun yung perfect blazing duet kay H2O. And mind you, H2O is one great Claude player. Alam niya kung kailan ang shoot ng blazing duet. Akala natin yun na. Hindi pa pala.
Yep, and Omega Esports, this is where you start seeing the technicalities and the mechanics of these players. Again, Curtizy with that Winchan play on the 1-1 and Hajizi being present on the entire map. Parang yung pakiramdam ng NXP, hindi nila alam kung saan sila pupunta. Kasi every single time na kalahati buhay nila, biglang may bumababa sa kanila, pinapagsakan sila ng isang link.
Ang nangyayari dito midnight, NXP ang lagi nagre-react. Umaasa sila na maka-outplay sila. Let's see, dahil mukhang may laban natin nagaganap dito. Onting poke, the Lord is now down. Buhay pa rin dito yung tower. NXP, nadepensahan pa nila. Nice patience para dito sa side ng NXP. Habang yung OMG kukuha na lang ng iba pang objectives. Ang camera ngayon ay tumitingin kay Kurt.
Yep.
Mr. Edgelord. Tignan natin ngayon.
James!
Oy, pasok James dito. Si Kurt ang main target. Let's see. Wala pa rin pasok si Ace, pero pasok na naman si Ace. The fake is real. But Kurt, Buhay pa siya, buhay! Si Kurt Easy dito, Renny J magkabol, Kurt Easy, pero may execute dito si Renny J. Wala na si Kurt this time, 4-on-4 mangyayaring laban. Renny J nandito si Exort, nakaloob sa kanya. Exort, tatakbo, nag-zoom out yung camera natin. Renny J now tatakbo na din. Meanwhile, si Nate nandito, walang damage output ng OMG. Pasok si Ace dito with the yin yang overturn. H2, Oma, papag-VMI out. Renny J baiting someone. Look at Hajizi this time. Hajizi, lilipat pa sa bottom lane dito, nag-aabang ng hero. Hajizi,
Inaabangan yung top lane.
men, ang intense nangyari, pero sabi ni Hajizi, okay, lipat ang camera, isang sundot, kuha ang tore.
Basic lang, objectives lang, sabi ng Mega Esports. Di namin kayo hahabulin para sa kill. Kasi again, the story of the game is that we are playing objectives. If we can avoid fights on the side of NXP, we still win the map control.
Yeah, this is again because of the flinch boys. The mechanics na meron ang isang ling na kayang mang-split, kayang gawin yung mga ganong klaseng movements. How crucial was that team fight para sa dalawang teams Midnight? James and Renny J, nakita natin yung persistence nila on getting Kurt Easy.
Actually, it could have been better, pero ang ganda rin kasi nung sagot ni Heat. Nung ginamit na ni James yung flicker niya, ang ganda nung gamit ng stacks on the Pakito. Multiple ultimates was targeted onto the Alice, kaya hindi na patay si Kurt Easy. Now, there's gonna be a steal on the purple buff. I don't think NXP could fight this one. Nakuha ata ni H, and then, hindi nakuha ni H2.
Nakuha ni Hajizi. And eto, dito mo makukomment yung dito mo makukomment ang NXP They really know kung kailan sila magre-rest. They really know kung kailan yung sugal.
Yes.
And sinugal nila yung last team fight na yun Crucial yun kasi again, kamuntikan pa mabuhay si Kurt. Kung nabuhay si Kurt, kung nakapag-ultimate siya, pwedeng naubos pa sila. Pero Renny J, nireserve niya talaga yung execute. Tatlong ultimates yung nawala doon. The Electroplinal Blow, yung ultimate ni Alice, pati yung ultimate ni Angela.
Tumalon din diba?
Tumalon din para lang mapatay si Kurt Easy.
Alam mo, ito yung nagpapahirap na sa game ng NXP. They try to go for these fights, and even though they keep on winning them, kasi nga sila yung superior team fighters, you still have to ask your problem as a new, ask the question as a new Ling. You have a Ling problem, and there is a map control problem. Because of the presence of the Ling, the Pakito, and the Kagura, these three heroes just control the map. Nakikita mo kanina yung laro ni Haze tsaka ni Heat. They just move around, they control the vision, and hindi sila yung aggressive fighters na pag nakakita sila ng opportunity, they go for these fights. Because they realize na, okay guys, kalma lang tayo, NXP mas malakas sa fights, if they wanna go in, let them go in. Kasi pwede nating kontrolin yung gera na kapag patalo tayo, let's just have the Ling split push.
So masasabi ba natin dito Midnight na for the win condition of NXP, they really need to force this 5-on-5 Royal Rumble nasa bayan.
Dapat mapatay si Ling. That's the first condition. You need to take down the Ling and the 1-1 at the same time.
At the same
That's
time.
all order.
At the same time talaga, no? Ngayon yung OMG, okay lang sa kanila kahit may walang isa. Basta wag sabay.
Yes.
At kaya nila mag-split.
Yep. Ito yung dangers na sinasabi natin kanina sa draft. Even though NXP went for the right mindset, again, you have the superior team fighter with the Alice and the Angela last pick, but you are still facing the Ling problem. Again, hindi nila masasagot tong Ling na to because of the nature of their draft.
Yeah.
If they try to split push with Benedetta, suddenly the 4 heroes that are left will just lose to the Esmeralda.
Oo, lugi talaga. And again, nabanggit natin dito, they don't have any catch para dito kay Hajizi unless ibuhos ni James yung second skill niya doon.
Oo, unless magkamali siya, Haji.
Oo, at pwede rin or maduwo kasi I think enough ng time yung stun ni Yawi nung back siya at yung stun ng Alice. I think enough ng time
Enough
na
naman.
yun
Problem is, kailangan mahuli mo si Ling na wala siyang ultimate.
Oo, at
Kasi may
ma-burst
free, kasi may free pass si Ling That's the very nature of Ling. It's really hard to take him down kapag walang ultimate. So very conditional pag mapapatay mo siya. Actually, bottom lane, may nag-1v1 na doon. That's the Ling and the Benedetta. This will always happen. The split push of the Benedetta and Hajizi split pushing for Omega Esports. And paulit-ulit yung mangyayari to, the Lord Reset will always happen because Omega Esports, they're looking to split the map.
Magkakasaikuha na ngayon, Midnight. At dito na papapasok yung drop na sinasabi natin. Yes, may damage output dito ang NXP, but Omega outplaying them in every way possible. Besides the fact na may escape yung Ling, may second skill din si 1-1 dito. Kaya hindi mo rin basta-basta mahuhuli. And the fact na maganda yung zone dito ni Haze, ni Heat, and Toshi, hirap na hirap.
Triangle offense, man.
Wow.
Triangle offense, hindi makapasok kaya pumasok si Yawi. This is a backshot that can do this, but the problem is the overwhelming damage of the Kagura and the Pakito. Mind you, it's just a Pakito tank. Ayan, nire-reset na naman nila. Always look for a potential outplay.
Mababurn siya dito. Pasok si Angela dito, but James is down.
Very methodical.
Wow. OMG, targeting the right person at the right place at the right time. And ito yung hindi mo pwedeng underestimate sa team na to. Alam nila pag sinabing focus fire sa isang tao, doon talaga sila.
Oo, Manji, nakita mo, di ba, yung bilis, yung urgency ng decision making ng OMG. Nung nakita nila na wala nang buhay si Yawi, immediately reset the Lord. Nung hindi na nila abot si Yawi, okay, ito na lang si James. Focus, 4 heroes were focusing down on the Alice. Now, Rene J is being chased by 4 heroes while Haji Z is getting his farm, probably split push the bottom lane and mid lane, but OMG still have the control. Now they have taken the Lord, and this will make life harder for NXP because hindi lang si Ling yung problema mo, dadagdag pa si Lord.
Dadagdag si Lord. Lord is at level 2. Pupunta dito sa top lane. This is a 20-minute game right now, Midnight. We're looking at late game items right now. Kapansin-pansin na meron ding plate armor dito si Heat.
Oo.
Just to negate this Claude.
Yep, sasalin lang talaga nila.
Oo. And ito yung dilemma, Midnight eh. Laging mauuna ang Ling kaysa sa Benedetta pagdating sa split. Tama ba?
Kasi mas mobile si
Oo.
Ling compared to the Benedetta. Even though mas invasive mas evasive pala si Benedetta, Ling is just a global map presence.
At speaking of map presence, eto na, sabi ng OMG, kaya na natin, James now falling low. Mabuhay kaya si James this time. Mukhang kaya niya mabuhay with the flowing blood, pero nawala na rin si Heat doon sa bandang gilid. Napakagandang sagot mula dito sa NXP. Eto na yung sinasabi natin ngayong eccentric damage output as Ace is down for a minute. Meanwhile, passing si Kurt dito. Kahit na kayo maputong pa, na-reset dito si X-Sword. Kurt, siya na lang mag-isa dito, pero makakawala pa siya. Nako, H.O. nandito na din. Toshi, buhay pa rin. Ang daming buhay pa rin sa side ng OMG. Wala na rin si Renny J. And I think this is it. OMG. Omega is back. At makakuha sila ng pinakaunang puntos nila dito sa MPL Season 7.
You know, this is still the skill of a world